All praise, all glory, all honor, most certainly due to the Most High. Now, Elohim of the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I want to say peace to you in the name of his son. Always count it a blessing each and every single time that I can come before you to preach word, and never do I count it as a light thing to do so. The title of today's message is Israel, your leaders have always been the problem. And when you look at us as a people, we are in dire straits. We're in a desperate situation. We are morally defunct and bankrupt. We've gone the way of just the same way as this country have gone. The Bible tells us Israel taught it, the other nations, the wicked, their ways. So how is it that we've gotten to this point? It's a lack of leadership. There's a famine of leadership. There's a dearth of leadership today. Leaders have been compromised. They have been bought and sold like shoes. They act like prostitutes. Prostitutes for certain political parties, prostitutes for money, prostitutes for Satan, and they operate in a very unrighteous way. And because they are unrighteous, they don't lead the people in the way in which they should go. The priest should be teaching you the law, right? The leader should be leading you in the proper way. Let's go to Deuteronomy, the 17th chapter, just to show you this real quick. Deuteronomy 17. Deuteronomy, the 17th chapter. And we'll pick it up here at verse 14. Because now this is what was to be shown unto the king. Okay? It says it says in the law concerning your kings. It says, Deuteronomy 17 and verse 14, when thou art come into the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, and shall possess it, and shall dwell therein, and shall say, I will set a king over me, like as all the nations that are about me. That's another thing. It tells you that the Lord was your king, because that way you have no flaws in your leadership. But nevertheless, you want to be like the other nations and get a king amongst men. So it said, thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, whom the Lord thy God shall choose. So it had to be chosen. And he said, of thy brethren. Then he said, from among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee. Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother. So your leader really is not, your king or monarch is not even supposed to be of another nation. Then he goes on to say, but he shall not multiply horses to himself, nor cause the people to return to Egypt, to the end that he should multiply horses for as much as the Lord hath said unto you. Ye shall henceforth return no more that way. So he wasn't supposed to multiply horses. Didn't mean he could only have one horse. It mean he wouldn't hoard all the horses practically. Meaning he wouldn't be like some, in the days of Moshe, where they had to they tried to make a captain and go back into Egypt. They wanted to go back into bondage. He said, neither shall he multiply wives to himself. Does that mean he could only have one wife? No, we know that's not the case. But we know that the Lord said, I gave you wives. That's what he told David. Jehoiada, righteous priest, he gave a king, a child king. He gave him wives. The Lord never condemned that. So what is that talking about? That means you can't just you should not hoard all the wives. Perhaps Solomon having 1,000 wives, perhaps that was perhaps a multiplication of wives. Okay, but having more than one, you're not much king if you don't, because quite frankly, a powerful man can have more than one wife. Even you look at Israel, the quote unquote ordinary man had more than one wife. But then he said, so it wasn't like you the king, you got one horse, one wife, then it said one piece of gold. That's not what's happening here, or silver. So he says, neither shall he multiply wives to himself, that his heart turn not away, neither shall he greatly multiply to himself silver and gold. But this is what I wanted to come here for. It said, and it shall be when he sitteth upon the throne of his kingdom, that he shall write him a copy of this law in a book out of that which is before the priests and Levites. So now wait a minute, what does that mean? That is telling you that he is supposed to be governing the people according to Torah. Okay, that's what he's supposed to be doing. He said again, Not it says, and it shall be when he sit upon the throne of his kingdom that he shall write him a copy of this book of this law in a book out of that which is before the priests, the Levites. And it shall be with him, and he shall read therein all the days of his life, that he may learn to fear the Lord his God, to keep all the words of this law and these statutes to do them. See, that's your leader, even the king. He's supposed to be reigning, not according to the U.S. Constitution, but rather according to Torah, that his heart be not lifted up above his brother, and that he turn not aside from the commandment to the right hand or to the left, to the end that he may prolong his days in his kingdom, he and his children in the midst thereof. That's why when Josiah, they had gone away from that, and when Josiah, who was one of the greatest kings of Israel, when he came on the scene, hey, they had all but lost that. And it said they found the book of the law. They even lost. So that's how far they had fallen by the time they had King Josiah. And King Josiah, when he found out, when he read the book of the law, this is 2 Kings 22 and verse 11. It said, and it came to pass when the king had heard the words of the book of the law that he rent his clothes, because he knew Israel was in violation. And the king commanded Hilkiah the priest and Ahikam the son of Shaphan, and Akor the son of Micaiah, and Shaphan the scribe, and Asahiah, a servant of the king, saying, go ye inquire the Lord for me, for the people and for all Judah concerning the words of this book that is found. For great is the wrath of the Lord that is kindled against us, because our fathers have not hearkened unto the words of this book to do according unto all that which is written concerning us. So now you got a genuine, true leader here. When he realized the people are out of pocket with the Lord, he tries to lead them back on track, because he understood, even though he was king, it was bigger than him. Let's go to the book of Malachi. So that's what the king. Well, what about the priest? Malachi. I'm going to pick it up in Malachi 2 and verse 7. Because here he's talking about how the priests are out of pocket. And he says something here in verse 6. I read here, the law of truth was in his mouth. Well, actually, let's pick it up. He's talking about Levi. Okay? Because that's the priestly tribe among the kingdom of priests. Okay? So they were even to be maintained amongst the people. And it says, the law of truth was in his mouth, and iniquity was not found in his lips. He walked with me in peace and equity, and did turn many away from iniquity. That's what the priest is supposed to do. So think about that. The priest is supposed to turn the people away from iniquity or sin, and then the king's supposed to be leading the right way. So when you look at the people and they're in a hellish condition and they steeped in sin, just all kind of waywardness. That's how you know we don't have leadership. He said, for the priest's lips should keep knowledge, and they should seek the law at his mouth. For he is the messenger of the Lord of hosts. You shouldn't go before these, even today, the so-called spiritual leaders today. Where you go before them, what they tell you? They tell you that the law is no more. They telling you could be a homosexual in church. That lets you know that everything is going straight. This is Jeremiah, the 5th chapter. So the king and the priest, they supposed to be keeping you on a righteous path. But that wasn't the case. So when he would send his prophets unto the people, he'd tell them, verse 25, 5 and 25 of Jeremiah, say, your iniquities have turned away these things, and your sins have withholding good things from you. So when you look at our condition and why we can't get it right, why we in the condition we in? Because we're not righteous. That's why. He went into covenant with the people. He chose us as his people. We went astray. That's why we were cast into slavery. That's why he told you, I call heaven and earth to witness against you this day. You shall utterly soon perish from out this land, whether you go to possess it. You going into slavery by way of slave ships. This is what Moses told us before we went into the promised land. He said, you're going into Egypt by way of ships. Egypt is the house of bondage. Why? Because of sin. That's the curses upon us. The curse is not being black. The curse is what happens when his chosen people go astray. It said, for among my people I found wicked men. They lay wait as he that set a snares. They set a trap. They catch men. As a cage is full of birds, so are their houses full of deceit. Therefore they are become great and waxing rich. They are waxing fat, they shine, yea, they overpass the deeds of the wicked. They judge not the cause. Now he's talking about the leadership now. He said the cause of the fatherless, yet they prosper, and the right of the needy do they not judge. Shall I not visit for these things, saith the Lord? Shall not my soul be avenged on such a nation as this? See, he brings about judgment, like I was dealing with the other day about America. America's going to be judged. You starting to see it now. It said, wonderful and horrible thing is committed in the land. Notice what he said here. The prophets prophesy falsely, and the priests bear rule by their means. And my people love to have it so. And what will ye do in the end thereof? See, they love it. But the ones that are supposed to know, the spiritual leaders, so-called, they leading you astray. Jeremiah the 14th chapter. Jeremiah the 14th chapter. See, your problem is your leadership. Jeremiah 14. And we'll pick it up at verse 14. What does it say here? It says, then said the Lord unto me, the prophets prophesy lies in my name. I sent them not, neither have commanded them, neither spake unto them. They prophesy unto you of falsities and divination, and a thing of naught, and the deceit of their heart. See, that's what they're doing. That's what they continue to do. Let's go to Ezekiel. Same thing here. So you do have some righteous ones that will come, but ultimately people don't want to hear them. Ultimately, it's the majority of them false. And this is what they did. This is Ezekiel 22 and verse 25. Because he tell you one place, if I had sent them, hey, they turn you from your sin. But what are the spiritual leaders doing? It says in verse 24, this is Ezekiel 22 and 24, their contemporaries. It says, Son of man, say unto her, thou art the land that is not cleansed, nor rained upon in the day of indignation. There is a conspiracy of her prophets in the midst thereof. Like a roaring lion raving to prey, they have devoured souls. See, these men are leading you astray. They have taken the treasure and precious things. They have made their many widows in the midst thereof. Her priests have violated my law. See, what do we read in the book of Malachi? We read in the book of Malachi how, the priest is the one that you should go to find law. It said, for the priest's lips should keep knowledge and the law, and they should seek the law at his mouth. But he is the messenger of the Lord of hosts. But here it says, her priests have violated my law and have profaned my holy things. They have put no difference between the holy and profane. Neither have they showed difference between the unclean and the clean, and have hid their eyes from my Sabbaths, and I am profane among them. That's the problem. That's the problem. So that's what your priests and prophets are doing. Her princes in the midst thereof are like wolves ravening and prey, to shed blood and to destroy souls, to get dishonest gain. So they're a bunch of crooks. They have everything. They want everything and then some. Then said her prophets have dogged them with untempered mortar, seeing vanity and divining lies. So your prophets are a bunch of liars, saying, thus saith the Lord God, when the Lord have not spoken. The people of the land have used oppression and exercised robbery, and have vexed the poor and needy. Yea, they have oppressed the stranger wrongfully. But why is that going on? Because your leadership is bad. Your leadership is morally bankrupt. That's the problem. That's the problem. Because when he sets things aright again, he shows you what, again, the priest should be doing. Ezekiel 44 and 23 says, talking about the priests, and they shall teach my people the difference between the holy and profane, and cause them to discern between the unclean and the clean. And in controversy, they shall stand in judgment, and they shall judge according to my judgments, and they shall keep my laws and my statutes and all mine assemblies, and they shall hallow my Sabbaths. That's what you're supposed to do. But do the people really want that, though? Not what was going on back then? Because what was going on back then is really the same thing that's going on today. People really don't want to hear it. Isaiah the 30th chapter. That's why he had to put the fear of the man he would have lead upon those people, because the people ain't gonna just follow you because you telling them right. That's unfortunate. They ain't following the Lord. But now, so he had to, that's why he had to give them power, and they had power to do things, because the people are so wicked. What's in the mind of the people? Isaiah the 30th chapter and verse 8. He said, now go write it before them in a table and note it in a book, that it may be for the time to come, forever and ever, that this is a rebellious people, lying children. He said, children that will not hear, notice, he said, the law of the Lord. They don't want to hear it. And so he said, which say to the seers, see not. He said, which say to the seers, see not, and to the prophets, prophesy not unto us right things, speak unto us smooth things, prophesy deceit. So now they don't want to hear the truth. The people don't want to hear the truth. That's unfortunate. That's a mindset. And that's the mindset of the people today. Jeremiah, the 23rd chapter. See, because when the Lord sends somebody, he going to tell you the truth. This is Jeremiah, the 23rd chapter. And that's what Jeremiah did. And you know they didn't want to hear it, because notice what they did. They persecuted Jeremiah. They smoked Jeremiah, put him in prison. But he was from the Lord. So much so that he said, hey, he tried to stop. He even tried to stop preaching. He said, Lord, that has deceived me, and I was deceived. Right? He said, for since I spake, I cried violence and sport, because the word of the Lord was made a reproach unto me and a derision daily. Then I said, I will not make mention of him nor speak anymore in his name, but his word was in mine heart as a burning fire shut up in my bones, and I was weary with his forbearing, I could not stay. He had to speak, but it got so bad, it was like, man, the people don't want to hear this. But now when he sends somebody, they gonna tell you the truth. This is Jeremiah, the 23rd chapter, verse 30. He said, therefore, behold, I am against the prophets, saith the Lord, that steal my words, every one from his neighbor. So now he's not even telling you what the Lord said. That's a problem. That's a problem. He said he's not even telling you what the Lord said. He said he steal his words. He said in verse 21, he said, I have not sent these prophets, yet they ran. I have not spoken to them, yet they prophesied. But now if he would have sent them, he'd tell you what they would have said. In verse 22, but if they had stood in my counsel and had caused my people to hear my words, then they should have turned them from their evil way and from the evil of their doings. So the prophet's going to do what? Tell them what thus say the Lord. Tell them the right way to go. It's always your leadership. Even in this last place, this is 2 Peter. Notice what 2 Peter tells us. Peter the apostle tells us, even amongst them in that age, in the first century, he's warning you of something. He says in 2 Peter 2:1, he said, but there were false prophets also among the people, even as there shall be false teachers among you. We got false teachers amongst Israel right now, leading multitudes of people. He said, who privately shall bring in damnable heresies. So they're bringing in teaching that will get you damned to hell. And even denying the Lord that bought them, even some of them denying Christ or the Mashiach or the Messiah, and bring upon themselves swift destruction. So they're going to be destroyed. But notice it said, and many shall follow their pernicious ways. So it's not like they going to hell by themselves. It's one of them, come on, follow me. They lead the multitudes to hell, but they coming out of those who were in the truth at that time. He said, you got some false prophets right there among the congregation. You got some false prophets right now, some false teachers right now. And many shall follow their pernicious ways, by reason of whom the way of truth shall be spoken of. And through covetousness shall they with vain words make merchandise of you. They're going to make a commodity out of you. They're going to lie to you just like a false. See, oftentimes we look at the false Christian preacher. There's a lot of them that teach lies, that are bringing in damnable heresies, that are making merchandise of people, that are pimping the people, right? But you got some of that amongst the Israelites too. And through covetousness shall they with vain words make merchandise of you, whose judgment out of a long time lingereth not, and their damnation slumbereth not. So, that's just an example. But brothers and sisters, the problem is leadership. Spiritual leadership, you know, your political slash your political leaders ain't worth a quarter. They ain't worth 2 bits. And this is the same thing with the leadership spiritually. And because there's really no leadership, you know, there's no direction. Things are not set in order. Things need to be in order. And that's a big thing amongst us. Because we lack order, we lack leadership, and there's a certain way things should be done decently and in order when you have true order. With that, brothers and sisters, I want to remind you that we're at the Household of Faith meet every Sabbath at 5925 West 25th Avenue in Gary, Indiana at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. We live stream right here on the Israel Teach YouTube channel. We also meet in Stafford, Virginia. Brother Makai is the minister in there, and that is at 153 Garrisonville Road, Stafford, Virginia, at the Red Roof Inn. That's at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. 12:30 Eastern. And with that, brothers and sisters, it's always my prayer that you will edify.